got it in time too.
Now you put the song in.
Give people a chance to tune in. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ear to the Ground 197. I'm your host. My name is Bryan Foley, and we got a late show today. I got in the studio today. I have First Ward Representative, Mayor Pro Tem, Mrs. Nicole Brown McGee.
Thank you.
And so she had some things going on today, and I had some things going on today. So we decided to do a late show, and so that we can continue the show on. You can tell my voice sounds a little raspy, a little hoarse. I got hay fever and stuff like that. It happens every time this year. So right behind the good brother right here, we got a special guest here. You can see I got them COVID tests right there. So I did a COVID test on myself, make sure that we was 100. Anyway, so how you doing today, Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm all right. I also have some allergy things, not hay fever, but this time of year does it. So hanging in there, but all is well. Thank you.
Okay. So we got the First Ward Representative, City of Ypsilanti, like I said, Mayor Pro Tem, and she's going to give us some updates on what's been happening in the city of Ypsilanti, where we at, where we been, what's happening, what's going on. So without further ado, we're going to, because she's not unfamiliar to the show. Right. So I don't have to reintroduce her and tell her who he is and stuff like that. But before we do that, then let's get the people to know who you are. What's the First Ward? What is a ward representative? What is First Ward? What does it consist of? And what is a Mayor Pro Tem? Let's start right there, just for hell of it. Okay.
All right. So Ward 1 is the largest ward, and it consists of the south side, so all the way around Michigan Ave, all the way over till you get up towards Ecorse and back, right? Mm-hmm. And so it has some of our historic neighborhoods involved in Ward 1. Okay. In Ward 1. Mm-hmm. And so the first ward representative is elected by only folks who live in Ward 1. So you can only vote for first ward if you live in the first ward. Mayor Pro Tem then is appointed by council, and it is basically vice mayor, right? It's a fancy term for vice mayor. You're the second in command. So if the mayor is not present, you preside over meetings, you attend certain meetings, and you support leadership, basically, in their absence.
Okay. Mary Childs Goodman says, this is awesome and welcome.
Thank you.
So how long have you been First Ward Representative?
So I am coming up on the end of my second term. So that equals out to about 8 years. So about 7.5 years in of being First Ward Representative. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. And I'm doing some little stuff right here, getting the screen together and everything. Okay. Been here all day and playing around. And then when they came in, we're doing YouTube live too. For those of you who have friends who don't like to do the Facebook thing, you can tell them to tune in to YouTube. Ear to the Ground 197, and then you can follow us live. Then you can get us later on too. Okay. Yes. So what's going on in the city? What's on the schedule? What's on the docket? What's happening?
So many things happening in the city. I can talk about some of our council goals because that directly impacts Ward 1 specifically. So one of the big things that we had in our council goals was, first of all, reopening our park bathrooms. So we have, yes, we're trying to reopen the park bathrooms, and this ties into budget. So really the primary thing is budget season is upon us.
Okay.
Our budget for next year has to be finalized by June. And so those meetings will begin usually early May, sometimes late April, depending on our council schedule. And so we'll be talking about how we're going to spend our money, what we are going to put our energy toward for the next, for the coming year, and how our fund balances are looking and things of that nature. And shameless plug, we just got a clean audit back, perfect audit, which has been years and years. Our staff have done a really great job of making sure that each year our budgets are balanced and things are clean and funds are accounted for. So I want to plug that our staff has been doing an excellent job there as we move into now focusing on our next year's budget. And so some of the things that are in there, we want to discuss reopening park bathrooms.
Okay.
We know how important that is, right?
Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine,
yeah.
personal project. So right.
Yeah, so it's important for public health, public safety reasons, and we want people to utilize the parks, right? And so we have children coming in there, we have adults, we have elderly folks who want to be able to frequent the parks, and so there's a numerous of reasons why that's really important, and it's been a big focus of several of us on council. So it has risen to the top of our goals. And I have my notes because there's so many things happening. I want to make sure I don't miss certain things. And then working on infrastructure needs. So with the flooding that happened with the rain over the last year during the pandemic and things of that nature, I've been in direct contact with DTE about tree trimming to make sure that we don't have those power outages when the wind is strong and blowing really hard.
Put your microphone a little close to it if you don't mind.
Oh, no problem.
So that's the reason why I've been seeing all them DTE trucks in my our neighborhood.
Yes.
And you've been doing that?
I've been working really hard and in constant and frequent contact with them, because I was getting emails and calls and my power was going out too. Let's just be honest. And we were trying to figure out what was going on. And so working very closely with them on tree trimming. This is the second year that they have put some extra emphasis in our area because of the contacts that we have made. And I directly
you didn't tell me that one.
Well, sometimes you're doing stuff and it's not, it's not just to share out, it's just to get it done.
Yeah, because I've been seeing like 5 and 6 tree trimming trucks deep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and they're into their second year of doing this. They started with us last year to get things rolling. They're back again this year to make sure that we see increased support in that area, because we know that these power outages were happening very frequently, and it has been less, but it's still happening here and there. So they're still working on that for us. And then another really high priority goal of mine, as well as a few of my other council members, is to work on and develop a plan for a non-police crisis intervention team in the city. And we have been working and trying to figure out already, having some small conversations about how we could do that. How can we make that happen within the community? We realize that, there are differences of opinion on police, right? On police presence. But what I do know, I think we can all agree on, is there are certain things that our police engage in that's just not the role of police.
Right. They're not social workers.
They're not social
counselors,
workers,
babysitters, all that.
Any of that, right? They're not necessarily always attuned to all the resources in the community. There are so many needs that are non-police oriented, and we want them to focus on the things that they should be focused on, so that we don't have negative impacts of, the burnout that we see and the increased number of calls that they're getting. And so one of the ideas that Councilmember Somerville and I had, we were right on the same page actually. And then there are other council members, Will Coxon, who are also, concerned about this, Councilmember Simmons, everyone, is around sending folks out who don't carry weapons, who are not going to be intimidating to people at no fault of their own. Just the uniform in itself can trigger certain things in people when they're in crisis. And so figuring out where we can put that, how we can support that. My initial thought was attaching it to the fire department. And I laughed because I had told one of the council members, I said, "You ever watch the show Station 19? And it's a TV show, but
I haven't heard of that one.
But on their show, they have a response team that goes out with the fire department, rather than with police. Now, we don't know if that's going to be a fit, right? That's why you have to do research. That's why you got to be evidence-based, data-driven to see if that would make sense for us. But we are in really the preliminary stage of trying to figure out if that can work for us. But we definitely want that to be a priority, and I want that to be a priority as a social worker by day and by trade. It's important. Now, crisis intervention doesn't always have to be even a mental health response. It could be about someone who is differently housed, who needs housing, someone who needs food, clothing. These things are all crises, right? You think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your basic needs have to be met for you to be able to function just genuinely in the community. And so it doesn't always mean what people think it means when you think of a crisis, that it's something to do with, again, like violence or DV or mental health or substance use. It could be the things that we think are more simple, and we want to be able to provide a space and a place for folks to get the needs met that they need, not what we think they need.
As being a DDA commissioner, we were paying for the officer down there, and that didn't work out to our expectations and really didn't work out to the community's expectations either. So one of the things that council told us, they returned the money and for us to be creative in how we wanted to address that. And so as a DDA commissioner, we're looking into ways that we can assist people in needs, in particular down in the downtown area. And we can be specific on Pearl Street and Washington, right in front of the Deja Vu. But when you know the people down there, you know that what appears as vagrancy of panhandlers, criminal activities, there's a lot of defecation, urination down there. We all know those are definitely the effects and not the cause of what you're talking about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And a lot of people are simply just responding to those social economic conditions that they're dealing with, and we're nowhere else to go. This is where we find them. And so sometimes we want to criminalize that behavior.
I was just gonna say that.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of getting people the help that they need, people who need the help the most should get the most help.
Yes.
And that's what we do. So I was glad to hear.
Equity.
Exactly. That's equity. So that's great to hear that you're being proactive in that.
So we are working hard. And again, there are no guarantees of how it's going to look, and I think that that's the beauty of the space that we're in, is that we have the ability now to have our biggest ideas, right? And at the end of the day, whatever comes out of it, I think will be positive, because we don't have something like that in this moment, and it's going to impact people positively. So we got to look at the funds, of course, money matters, but just trying to piece together a plan that's going to make sense to support it's all the things you were talking about. Because what we don't want to do is continue to criminalize folks who need help.
Exactly.
Who need
something, right?
Yeah. Who needs something. And behavior is the language of needs. That's one of the quotes that I use in every role I'm in. Behavior is the language of needs. And so you have to look at what's underneath what you're seeing. What do people need?
What they need, And back up a little bit. You were talking about the bathrooms in the parks.
Yes.
Okay. We have a lot of homelessness, and we don't have public restrooms. And the last time that I looked at the health department, one of the most highest transmission of disease was hepatitis B. And hepatitis B is transferred by urine and feces.
Bodily fluids.
And so in particular, let's pick our park, Park Ridge Park. There's a lot of activities down there. And even the city tried to do the best that they could by providing a porta john. And we did have issues with that, people turning over. But however, when you have that, and you have standing feces and standing, get what I'm saying? Then you have a higher opportunity for the transmission of hepatitis B. So it's very important that we get those bathrooms open. But if we get those open, how are we going to maintain them? How are we going to, for lack of a better term, police them?
So good question. Because one of my top goals this year was for us to reimagine or recreate our Parks and Recs department within the city. So that way we have a mechanism where that is the job, right? That we have folks who are hired to go in, to clean those bathrooms, to monitor those bathrooms.
Monitor, I shouldn't say police,
monitor the bathrooms and make sure that they are up to par, that they are clean, that they are safe. And again, some of these things are hopes and wishes. We don't know how exactly it's going to look, but we also do have a really, really amazing DPS director and DPW department where, what I don't want to do is inundate them with additional work, but I do think that if we put more energy and more resources into the department, we could bring folks on to support in this endeavor as well. If we can't get the Parks and Rec department back immediately. And so, again, we're gonna have to put our heads together to figure out how to make that happen, because it's very, very important for all the reasons that you just stated and all the things we were just talking about. I mean, it's not even just about the public safety piece and homelessness issues and things of that nature, but also the folks who frequent the park and who want to spend time there and can't do it in a way that makes sense for them because they have to leave to go take somebody to the bathroom, or they don't want to take their little one into the porta john that was there, or if they got there and the porta john was knocked over, right? We did the best we could with that, but now it's time to take the next step and open the spaces that exist already for that use. So that is the hope. My wish is a Parks and Rec department to be reopened and recreated. But if not, we're gonna have to figure out within the systems that we already have how to better do that and monitor those spaces.
Yeah, I'm motivated already from hearing you being proactive in this, because for so long we've been stagnant in this area, in particular, and I can say that. And by not having restrooms down there, we also leave open the opportunity to create an opportunity for exposure, if you will. You get what I mean? I'm trying to get what I mean?
Yes,
where children
finding places.
Versus finding places, and you got your child and you walk around, you see a man, woman, and or child relieving themselves, and then now they got a criminal sexual
again, criminalizing something that may just be they have to relieve themselves, or some people are down there, But again, we don't want to see that.
We don't want to see that.
Yeah.
And like you say, we don't want to. This is finally working. It's breaking it up. We don't want to overtax our DPW workers.
Yeah, they do a lot.
Not only do they do a lot, and I say this, in all honesty, up underneath our new DPW director, Ron Akers, there have been a change of attitude and motivation in there.
Agreed.
And I have to give credit where credit is due. I was at the barbershop during the winter months, and the brothers in the barbershop was bragging about how the DPW workers was driving down the street 3 in a row, one truck ahead of another, staggered up, and they thought that was the coldest thing they had seen. Nipsey.
Innovation,
right? And they were doing that, and they were bragging on that. And I actually called Ron up and talked to him about that. But our DPW workers, and like I said, Ron called me up last night by the basketball court. We've got to get back onto it for getting it painted.
Yeah.
And I talked to Francis McMullen, the city administrator, this morning. So it's a project that was birthed from out of the community. It's community driven, and we've been in a pandemic, so we kind of slacked off. And it's one of the first times I can say community is a little behind, and the city's ready to respond and go forward. And we're kind of a little slow on that. But we got a lot of good things going on. Parkridge Park. The concrete up underneath the pavilion. Yes. That's going to be removed and repaired.
Yep.
And we have a new baseball diamond coming in.
Yep. It's new baseball
diamond. I'm going to let you talk about that, because there's some people giving out mis and false information on how that baseball diamond came to be and the funding on it. And I'm gonna let you share it.
Well, the reality is you, Mr. Bryan Foley, came and talked about that baseball diamond and sought out resources for that, and even partnered with us to get the go ahead and make sure, we weren't stepping on toes to ask for the money where the money was available.
That's right.
And it ended up in Senator Jeff Irwin's office, and he is, and his team are funding the baseball diamond, softball diamond at Parkridge Park. And so we have to acknowledge where those funds are coming from,
right?
Because the reality is we don't have it, right? We don't have it. We can't do everything. And so it's really great to see when other, folks are supporting us and willing to give out dollars to take care of our community. And so honestly, if it were not for your voice lifting that need, we may not have had the funds to fix that diamond. And it is coming from Senator Jeff Bryan's office. And then we are partnering to make sure that it happens.
Exactly. And that comes from Sharisa Allen and myself formed the Southside Community Baseball team.
Yes.
And we had got the softball diamond resurfaces and redone, and we began to see more and more children wanting to utilize our park, and so we wanted to have it better for our community, and that's what we're doing.
So we thank you, honestly, you and Sharisa for starting, the team, number one, and getting that usage that really increased the frequency of people coming out there. And now we have a need, and the need is going to be met. So thank you. Tracy
Davis and Vita Hesterly are reminding me that we would like everybody to hit Y1 into the comment box. Why do we have them Y1? Because I believe in Ypsilanti first. We believe in Ypsilanti first. Absolutely. So we like for you to hit Y1, like, and then share. And what that does is that stimulates the algorithm, because a program that I use, you can't tag anybody in it. So people get it later on. Okay. So we talk about parks, we talk about downtown, Anything else on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I know I've been getting questions from folks about all the construction here on Hamilton.
Yes. Okay.
And so
there we go.
That is a process, y'all. And I know it's sometimes it feels inconvenient. And it's going to take some time. We're going to be going all the way into 2023 before everything is done. But that piece that is occurring right now on Huron and Hamilton, where it's down to one lane over there, it will be done by June of 2022. So that first section.
She said be done by June.
Write it down.
Write it down.
We know construction projects. Now I ain't the one.
Right.
I ain't the one
doing
the work.
You ain't the one digging the hole.
But
right.
We were told
Okay.
June 2022. That first section should be complete.
All right.
And I'm looking forward to that because I live very close to it as well. Lots of work happening there, and then into 2023, the rest of the corridor should be completed. So it's going to be a while, but it's going to be great. You know, that pedestrian crossing is really important for folks to be able to walk over there again, because everybody doesn't drive. We want to make sure that it's safe for everyone, and that we see what those roads look like here and there. That needs to be fixed.
That got to be fixed.
And so it's going to take some patience, but it's underway. We see that, and this first part hopefully should be done by June. Again, don't beat me up if that doesn't happen, but it's underway. And so that's a really important thing I wanted to make sure we touched on, just giving some dates, because folks have been asking, like, how long is this going to take? How long is this going to be? So this is phase 1, June, and there are a couple other phases throughout the rest of 2022 and into 23. By May, I believe, of 23, everything should be complete.
Okay. Now that's one of the projects that the city is implemented and is working with that I'm not happy with. I'm an automobile guy. You get what I mean? I'm an automobile guy. And, but I get it as being now, I wear many hats.
You do.
I'm a DDA commissioner. I'm sustainability commissioner.
Exactly.
Let me see, what did I just turn on to the other day? Well, now I'm on the Bicentennial Commission. Then there's another one on with the DBA.
So look,
I'm the
and that's the thing about some of this is that sometimes some of the things that are happening, right? It may not be as convenient for us, right? But when you look at the big picture, we got to think of everybody. And so that's the beauty of being able to, take your personal out of it and see the good in it, but also you can voice and say, I don't really like it, but this needs to happen. For me, I grew up, I remember walking a lot of places when I was young. And so it really resonated with me about walkability, and seeing places that don't have sidewalks makes me really nervous. And seeing people walking there when I'm getting off the highway or something, it makes me super nervous. And so I'm glad to see that is going to change. Now I'm not a fan of construction, right? But that's what you got to deal with to get to the end goal. So we're gonna get it done. It'll be good.
And I get it. I really get it. I'll be 62 Monday.
What?
Yeah, I'll be 62 Monday. So I'm kind of a grumpy old man. They tearing up the streets. They gonna narrow them down. But I get it, because we got to reduce the carbon footprint around here.
And the speed and the
speeds
safety.
and everything.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this makes sense. And one of the things that is an issue in our city is speeding. It's an issue. And we just recently had some folks sending us video where we're watching people speed through the neighborhoods, taking detours because of the construction, right? And so we do have to keep some of that in mind, and also, police our community as well. Like, encourage our neighbors to slow down. And I know sometimes it's not even our neighbors; it's folks cutting through. Right. But letting us know that is important so that we can increase our visibility, like with our police in those areas at high traffic times. And I think our chief has instructed the police department to do that, to make sure that we are keeping folks safe. Folks want to be able to go outside their house and not risk getting hit on the sidewalk, right? So that's important.
Yeah, your mom just told me happy birthday.
Oh, she's so sweet.
Yeah, I love your mama called me on the telephone in a minute with that heavy West Indian accent.
When they come out, she's serious.
She's serious. All I can do is sit there on the phone and yes, ma'am. Yes, Mother Tucson. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And she be getting so linearly on there, and I was like, wow, okay, I got you.
And speaking of transportation, one more thing that just came to mind is we just got funds from Debbie Dingell's office, Congressman Debbie Dingell's office, for the bus station. So there are going to be updates to our bus depot. Okay. Now, don't give me a line about all the details. Right. Now, right. The information just kind of came out, but we do know that we have secured from her $300,000 for our bus station. And so more information with that will be forthcoming as well. So there are some really good things happening. Some big changes, big projects, small projects, but things are moving and shaking in the city right now.
Yes, they are. I don't want to get too far, of course, but I believe in Ypsilanti for Ypsilantians. You get what I mean? And gentrification is a very real process. And so I just want to ensure that as we're making these improvements, that we're making the improvements for present citizens and future Ypsilanti and citizens, indigenous, if you will, Ypsilantians, you know, and we're not improving the city, making it a lot better for somebody else to move in and take our place. Because we know gentrification process is very real. It's happening. It does exist. And I forget the percentage of our community is renters. I've heard somebody say 75%.
That's a lot.
And houses now are going for market value. And so if we're not cautious and we're not strategic, and we don't have like-minded persons such as yourself, who have the interests of the community at hand first, then the people, the developers who are bringing in the money, and our people are cutting side deals to benefit themselves as an individual at the expense of our community. Maybe we'll have that conversation later on. You get what I mean?
We do need to talk more about that. I mean, because we can definitely go down a whole nother road with that conversation. But what I will say to that is, yes, you know, it's important to center those who are here. And it's not to say that we don't want people to come, we don't want people to visit, but I am not trying to push people out who are already here. That's the thing, right? I have no problem with people who see Ypsilanti and say, we want to come here. Like, we love, this is a quirky town, or whatever label they want to give it. It's a beautiful town. It is. But also there are folks who want to be here, who've been here for generations and should have the right to stay here, right? And be here. And it's a slippery slope. It is, right? Because certain things are getting priced out. You know, but that is something that we also have had. There are council members who are working on housing as affordable housing as like one of their small group projects, as I was over working on, you know, the violence and the parks and things of that nature to make sure that our families can live and thrive here. And we have to find a balance in that.
Yes, we do.
And we've struggled. You know, we've struggled, but I think that is also a priority, right? To find the balance there. Yeah.
Before we change gears, those who tuned in late, I get seasonal allergies, and this is that time right now. That's why my voice sounds the way it is. And if you're concerned about the health and safety of my guests, Mayor Pro Tem First Ward Representative Nicole Brown McGee, I did a COVID test earlier just to make sure. I know what it is, but I know how y'all folks is out there. You know what I mean? He got there and got that thing. You know what I'm saying? But Here to the Ground 197 is brought to you by Blackstone Bookstore and Cultural Center, located right across the street from the Ypsilanti Public Library, owned by my good friend Kip Johnson and Carlos Franklin and their lovely wives, Andrea Franklin and Athena Johnson. That's Blackstone Bookstore and Cultural Center, located on West Michigan Avenue, beautiful downtown Ypsilanti. Also brought to you by Jones Cleaning Service, where his motto is, we clean it right. That's on my good buddy, Jones Cleaning Service. Then finally, it's brought to you by Tracy Sweet Touch Production. Yes. I got to get this right. That's my sister, you know what I mean? And if I don't get it right, Tracy Sweet Touch Production, uniquely created gifts for any occasion. You can find her on YouTube, Passionately Intrigued Arts, Instagram at Tracy Sweet Touch Production, TikTok at Established Fabulous, Pinterest, Miss Tracy E. Davis. You can email her, at DallasToDakota@gmail.com. And then finally at Facebook at Tracy E. Davis.
I have plenty of things from her.
She got you something else too.
Oh, yes.
She got, you got something else too. But the rules. You got to stay to the end of the show. I ain't gonna run off.
Okay. I'm gonna wait. Right. I have a mug from her that I use all the time. It has this beautiful Black woman with with the afro, and I just love that mug so much. I feel so like this one right here. Okay, I feel so powerful when I'm drinking out of it. So yeah. Okay. So I want to get that plug in before we shift gears. Okay. We're gonna change gears up real hard. We're gonna go right into overdrive. Oh Lord. Okay. All right. I've been seeing posters and signs around town that somebody is running for mayor. Yeah. Okay, now run it to me right now. So yes, I took a lot of time and was in a lot of prayer and was talking with, my family, with you, with several others who I respect in the community to make a decision, about this. And I landed on, yes, I have full intention and moving full speed ahead with running for the mayoral seat. In the process of finalizing, gathering signatures to be on the August primary ballot. And I'll have an event coming up next Friday, actually, just to gather with some folks and invite people so we can get, some additional signatures. I always like to get more than what is expected. And, I know the big question is why now? Why do you want to do this? And I think, to be honest, sometimes you're called to something. And when you pivot away or you deviate from that, you're going to feel the repercussions of it. And sometimes it ripples beyond you. And my biggest feeling and concern was I could have easily backed away from that and shied away from it because I was nervous about making the decision. And you know that. I went round and round about like, is this the right thing to do? Yeah. Is this the right time to do it? But I think this is the direction that the community has been going. There are so many people who were coming to me without even knowing I was thinking about it, saying, it's your time. You need to do this for us.
It's the city's time.
It's the city's time, right? Yes. It's all of our time. And I think this is the time. I think that, I have experience. I've been on council for 2 terms at this point. I've learned so much in that time. And leadership is important.
Yes, it is.
It's important. It's important to be able to, take in information and synthesize it. And even if you don't agree, sometimes it doesn't matter what you feel. Like we said earlier, right? It's about the community.
It's about the community.
And putting the community first and being able to change your mind. It's okay to get new information in and change your mind about things. To have attention to detail and attention to the nuances of what folks say, and to also be able to pull out those gems when you hear the naysayers, right? Because even naysayers have important things to add to conversations. And I think that this is just the next step for me in representing the people who have supported me and who believe in my voice to represent them, because that is my job. I don't go to council talking about what I want and what I need. I never have. And it's funny because there's things that I voted on that, quiet as kept, totally opposite from what maybe I would have done, right?
Tracy says, and we need young blood with new ideals, expertise, common knowledge, and education.
Yes.
And that's exactly what she summarized that completely. My theme song is called Power to the People. And power to the people, when you look at the word democracy, and I say this all the time, democracy is a Greek word. The prefix of the word demos is people. The kratos or ocracy comes from power or rule. Democracy is the rule of the people. And for so long around here, we've been at the rule of the elected officials. Our elected officials, for some kind of reason, I don't know where we got this twisted, but they seem to think that we elected them into office to govern us, when we elected them into office to speak our voice, to represent us. And so many times they come back telling us just what you just said, what we're going to do, what I expect of you as a constituency. So I know, and that's one of the reasons why I've been encouraging you for a long time to run for mayor. And your trip up to where you're at now, because you had to get to where you're at, you had to literally come in City Hall, you had to find where the bathroom was at on your own. Everything you had to learn, I know personally from somebody who attends city council meetings, everything you had to learn it the hard way, if you will. Through trial and through error. And there's nobody more qualified, in my opinion, in my observance, from somebody who's participating in government that is better qualified to represent and be the ear of the constituency we call the city of Ypsilanti. And that's why I support and endorse you. Ear to the Ground 197 is a podcast that is based upon basically disseminating information. But Ear to the Ground 197, as we say, to people type Y1 because I believe in Ypsilanti first. So I'd be less being a representative on my own program if I didn't stand up and stand on my own premise by saying Ypsilanti first. Ypsilanti deserves you, and we deserve to be represented by somebody who has an ear, who has the ability and to call people up and ask them, what do you think? What would you like? Instead of telling us what you think we should do. I know that.
I appreciate, thank you so much. First of all, I appreciate everything that you have just said. And it's humbling when somebody sees you. And again, people who have been watching your show or who just know us know we have not always been on the same side.
Thank you.
We have not always agreed. We have had heavy debates, and I've done that with several other folks. But what we share is that we want the best for the community,
right? And
we have a mutual respect for one another. And so I am humbled to hear, have your endorsement and to hear what you have to say about what you think that I can bring to the city. And that is my truth, right? Is that I do call folks. I don't go into City Hall on a council night making decisions because I thought so.
And you share with me. And I know you do with the other people. Yeah. You share what's coming up.
Yeah, share what's coming up.
I know what's going on.
What do you think? Tell me what you think. Right. Because I don't want to make a decision based on my opinion, because I'm one person. Right. And it's not about me. Right. And so that is my goal. Inevitably, out of all of this, is I'm not there for me. I'm there for everybody else. Yes. And to bring those voices to the table. So I thank you. I really. Well,
that's what I mean, and not to reiterate it. But it's true. We didn't agree on everything.
No. And I made a lot of mistakes.
Right.
And I admit that, and I think, but that's the part of growth. And that's the part of, honestly, what I think leadership is to be able to say, I don't know everything. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes I need people to pull my coattail and say, hey, what you're doing right now, you need to go the other way. And you know what I will do? I'm gonna pivot, because I respect the voices of those who I'm here to represent. Yeah. And that is how we got to the point that we're at now. We can respectfully even disagree. Here in Hamilton, you just said, I don't like that. I'm right. Like, I love it, but we understand the why, right? And so I appreciate what you're saying. And, I know it's your show, but I'm not trying to take over, but it's one of the reasons why we have a special guest here today, right? Because what I've learned in this time, and I've learned as I've come into adulthood in this role, is that it's not my job to get in it and stay and occupy it forever. It's my job to do some work and then move on to the next thing and usher someone else into the spot. In
the streets, we say hit it and quit it. So the next I'm gonna leave that alone. So the next person can get it. Yeah, but you brought somebody to my studios, and not very often I do that. But because I know the character, you were raised by two strong-willed persons, two people of great integrity. Now, me and Brother Lee, I think we fighting last week.
Once a week, at least.
Once a week, and then next week we agree. But character-driven, integrity-driven. I know that. And so when you invited somebody to our show, I didn't hesitate to do that. So before we invite him, there's two things I want to just say. These principles: truthfulness and honesty are your greatest assets. That I know, because you can go back and check the record book on where Nicole Brown has been at, and that's been standing perpendicular on a square on the principles of truthfulness and honesty, regardless of what I may agree with you or disagree with you. You didn't backtrack or try to change up and say, I didn't say it, or I didn't mean it like that. That's how you took it. Truthful and honest. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out for my constituency. Just in case y'all was wondering, did I endorse her and support her? Yes, I do. And it just didn't happen. Who you bring with you?
So I am so excited that he obliged me and after all these years has watched me and talked with me about what I was doing. I came into this with zero knowledge. I didn't know what I was doing, right, when I got on council. And I brought my younger brother, Mr. Roland Tucson, who has decided that he would like to enter into this world and be more civically engaged than he already has been, to run for the 2-year Ward 1 City Council seat. So from 22 to 24. And Roland can introduce himself. He is not shy, but he is 25 years old. He is a lifelong Ypsilanti resident. His parents are Lee and Valerie Tucson. So that should just tell you something right there.
Okay.
And I am just incredibly proud of him. And I think that honestly, where he's at right now, he will be better than me.
Let him say it.
Okay. Let me move out
the way.
Let me move out the way. Because he's gonna be better than me.
Okay, all right then. All right. We bringing in a good brother. Pull your chair up a little bit, good brother.
Gotcha.
First of all, I want to welcome you to Ear to the Ground. Boy, you look like your daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you don't start talking to me like your dad. Me and that man, we have some good conversations. We don't always agree. But before I say this, thanks, Tracy. Like you said, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, right? At Ear to the Ground 197. For those of you who have friends who are on Facebook. Before I say this, I was asked, I've not only been asked to run for city council, Nicole tell you that, numerous occasions. And I declined, obviously, each time. I've even been asked to run for mayor a couple terms, declined. The reason why I declined was because I feel as though I'm more effective as a citizen in the roles that I do in the community. So I chose not to. However, it got to the point this year where we needed a viable candidate. And I even told Nicole, and I made announcements to a few people that I'm throwing my hat in the ring.
Okay.
Right? And because Ypsilanti needs to be represented, south side of Ypsilanti needs to be represented by south side of Ypsilantians.
Absolutely.
Because what better people know our community than people who are born and raised, who come from the dirt up from there.
Absolutely.
Did I want to run? No, I didn't want to run. And that's why I didn't. Not because my heart was not in it. But I'm going to say this. Politics is a young person's responsibility. I'd be 62 years old running for office. When you get old, you get set in your ways. You come in with conceived ideals. Because frankly, when you start getting mature, you're set. But we need new ideals. We need fresh blood. We need new energy because things change. We've watched from the time, I've grown up, we're growing up with a rotary dial telephone, if you will. You get what I mean? Yeah. Through the push button, all the way through the internet. That's how I can say how old I am. To when there was only 3 channels on TV and then 2 UHF. Now you can get all kinds of stuff. What I'm saying is we need our young. And so when I heard, matter of fact, it was Nicole who called me up. And she actually told me, she said, if you're not, I have a very viable person. And when she told me who it was, I immediately changed my mind. Why did I change my mind? Because I know who you are. I knew the integrity and the value and the character that you bring. The same integrity and character and values that your sister brings.
I appreciate that.
And that's true. That ain't just from spoken. That's from firsthand knowledge, experience, from growing up in the same community and neighborhood. I know what's right and know what's wrong. I may not always act on either one of them immediately, but I know truth when I see it. And we're sitting before the truth. So
I appreciate that.
Without that, so your name is Roland.
Roland Tucson, the last of Lee Tucson's sons.
You named after
my uncle.
Uncle.
Yeah.
Your Uncle Roland and my dad used to work together at the Ford plant together.
Okay.
And I was with him over your aunt's house. One lives on Madison Street. Mm-hmm. And he came by and he was telling me a lot of stories and stuff like that. But anyway, enough of my intro and stuff like that. Good brother, welcome welcome to representing the South Side of Ypsilanti.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, run it down, run it to us. I didn't talk enough.
So
You go and tell us.
my name is Roland Tucson.
Roland Tucson.
As my sister said, I'm 25 years old, as my sister said.
Okay.
I hope to, while running for this Ward 1 2-year city council seat, and hopefully and potentially winning it, I want to continue being a bridge between the city and the young people.
Okay.
Getting information about what's going on in the city to the young people, and then taking what the young people are saying and implementing it to what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to bridge that gap. I want to continue bridging that gap.
You got any strategies on how you can do that?
Currently, my main strategy for getting to the youth and taking the information back is just relating. I'm dealing with some of the same things that they may be dealing with, going to some of the same places that they may be going to, and they can see me and say, I can trust that person. I can give that person my ideas or my thoughts and see what can be brought from it in a bigger realm. So that's my main strategy right now. Yeah.
Being a ear for the people and a voice for the people.
Ear to the ground.
Ear to the ground. Exactly. And that's what government is all about.
Absolutely.
Representing the interests of the people, not the interests of the individual.
Absolutely.
And I can say that in all assurity that that's not the way we've been governed in this community, in this city, in this area. We've actually been governed by dictators, and I sincerely mean that, until they get called to the carpet, and then they want to start backpedaling and start trying to correct some things and say, I didn't say it, I didn't mean it like this. It isn't until they get called to the carpet that they want to do right by the people. When it's a threat that we might not give you your vote no more. Then we haven't seen you for the last 2.5 years. And then when we have people start speaking up, then all of a sudden we want to start showing up. It's too late for that. Right? We're going into a new dispensation right now. And if we don't grasp our youth, I said this to Nicole years ago, the George Benson song, and I can say this without sounding insulting, but he says that I believe that our children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Absolutely.
It's the responsibility of the elders and the elder statesmen, elder clergymen, is to be counselors and role models and give advisors. And the scripture says something about the hoary head. Listen to the gray haired person, because we've experienced some of those things. But there comes a time when we have to understand that we've outlived our shelf life. And when you be on the shelf too long, you begin to spoil. And when things start to spoil, they start rotting, they start stinking. So sometimes when you don't want to move out the way voluntarily, you got to be nudged out the way. So I hope we don't have to tell nobody they got to either get down or lay down.
Hopefully not.
But we can get rapscallions and gangster with it if we have to. Anyway, that's another side. So you got any thoughts on plans or ideals on that you want to bring forth, things you want to implement? Have you thought that far in advance?
Currently right now, my main focus is just learning everything that I can outside of what my sister has taught me, outside of what my father and my mother have taught me. Right now, I'm just mainly focused on learning and just seeing how I can be a more viable role in the fall. Yeah,
I get what you're saying. So in that type of arena or atmosphere of the learning, what type of or have you had any leadership responsibilities in school or in civic activities?
Absolutely.
I mean, what
school, I graduated from Ypsi High.
Okay.
Well, Ypsilanti community now. The school that I mainly graduated from was Ypsilanti New Tech. So they taught us all about leadership. They had us doing group projects, every project. And it really instilled more leadership values in me than I already had. Personally, on a personal level, outside of school, I did the whole Instagram thing with like businesses. So I would be a leader in some groups to lead promotional things, all types of events in different cities and sometimes even our city, to help bring in people on the whole business side and the hair thing and the Instagram thing. So I have leadership qualities that I just want to once again learn and expand and bring into our city. Further to our city, I should say.
How can we as community members and elders, how can we assist you in representing us?
Give me your concerns, your questions, your comments, all of that. Because while I'm running now, I'm gaining signatures and then on to the whole voting thing. I want to be able to formulate what my constituents in Ward 1 need and want to see.
Yeah, I mean, right there, you're on the correct path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Understand and recognize it's not about you.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? It's about the community.
Right. If I help the community, I'm ultimately helping myself. So why might as well help the community as well?
Exactly. So we're really looking forward,
I'm looking forward to
and supporting. And I'm glad that we have somebody viable.
Yes, sir.
That is willing to step up and represent the community. And I'm glad that it's a young person. And I mean that. And let me make this real plain. This is not being insultive to anybody of an elder or mature, but it just comes a time when we have the responsibility to pass the baton. Yeah. This is a relay. You run your leg for a certain length of the race, and then you pass the baton on. It's not your job in any governing body to run past and try to run the complete race all the way to yourself. That's not how it's set up. We take the information that we got and then we pass it on to our youth so that they can carry it on. And that's what I'm glad to see, that we got somebody young and viable. It doesn't take me all day to figure people out. In a past life that I used to have, we had to know if you was the hook or the crook right then. We had no time to ask you your driver's license to see if you was them peoples.
I got you.
So I know good people when I see them. So my platform is open to you anytime you like. And I'm gonna get your phone number before you leave, but that way I can call you up and have a real conversation.
Yes, sir.
I ain't gonna put you on blast. First time out, it's kind of wrong. Plus your mom out here, you know what I'm saying? And she ain't gonna be calling me up and I say this with all affection, in her heavy West Indian accent, saying that you need to talk to me. That's Mother Tusa,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, welcome. Looking forward.
Appreciate it.
And then we're gonna bring little sis back on here because I adopted her. She tell you, we just don't. This just don't happen on the screen. We talk. So we're gonna exchange places again, and we're gonna get out of the show. Okay. All right. Thank you, Brother Roland Tucson, right there. Hopefully, next first ward representative, city council person. So, thank you for bringing a guest here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got a lot of questions we're gonna ask you, but first we expect people to be experts and perfectionists first time out. You hear me?
You speaking exactly what I was going to talk about.
Go ahead.
I was about to say.
Go ahead.
And really what I was going to say was what Roland represents for me and what I feel like in my time, right, almost a decade ago now, Lord, was that you don't have to be this polished, born bred politician to do this work. And now he has a whole nother generation under mine that can see that they too can be engaged. And it doesn't mean that you have to come in knowing everything. You don't have to know everything about budgets. You know a little bit. You need to be willing to learn, but you don't have to come in as an expert to do the good work, right? You have to come in with a heart for it and the yearning and the energy to learn and to listen. And that is something that he has, and he will grow.
Yes, he will.
Through this process, and while he's engaging with people like you and other elders in the community, telling him things, teaching him things, talking with me. But you don't have to come in suited and booted,
right?
As a lifelong politician to do this.
Yeah.
And we need more people to really internalize that and recognize that they too can sit here and sit at this table, and it's not just for them, it's for you too.
Right.
You know, and he's an example of that. So
yeah, I'm glad you brought him. And like I said, we're gonna get to know each other better. You know what I'm saying?
You better be ready.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You know, I have this motto and I have this principle is I don't believe in using this platform to cancel culture.
Right.
I can't stand that.
Mhm.
But there comes a time where we have to start speaking truth to power. Because when we don't, we end up not the people we should be and not looking like the community we should be, because we have these hushed tone conversations in the barbershops, in the beauty salons, in the backyard barbecues. And then we keep on getting the same thing we always gotten because people are afraid to speak out. And we should never be afraid to speak out against our elected officials. Why? Because we elected you to represent us.
That's our job.
That's our job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's not what I'm here for. But anyway, I think, but however, as more and more we start going on, I start seeing a lot of stuff. I think I'm gonna have to start sharing a little bit more information with the people on what's happening out here in these here streets. Yeah. Anyway, Ear to the Ground 197 is brought to you by Blackstone Bookstore and Cultural Center, owned by Kip Johnson and Athena Johnson, as well as Andrea Franklin and Carlos Franklin, located right across the street from the Ypsilanti Public Library. Brought to you by Jones Cleaning Service, owned by Emmanuel Jones. His motto is "We clean it right." That's Jones Cleaning Service. And also brought to you by Tracy's Sweet Touch Productions. Tracy's uniquely created gifts for any occasion. You can find her at YouTube at Passionately Intrigued Arts, Instagram at Tracy's Sweet Touch Productions, TikTok at Estella Fabulous, Pinterest, Miss Tracy E. Davis, email at DallasToDakota@gmail.com, and finally at Tracy E. Davis. And you know, she always brings gifts. She ain't bring you nothing good, brother. She know you're gonna be here. But I guarantee you, I know my sister, she gonna make something, because that's just how she get down. You know, before I say this, when he said he was 25, I had 5 children. And my youngest son is 25. And I was just sitting across, really amazed at the wisdom and the ability how he's able to articulate his thoughts and communicate them very well. I feel as though our future is in good hands.
I agree. I think so too.
Yeah. And just by being able to say that, I'm looking across at a 25-year-old. So we can't be afraid to let our younger people guide us and lead us. They bring a lot more to the table than what we do. You know, our experiences from a different time and era. Yes, we have our experiences. But like I say, there becomes a time when we have to pass that responsibility over. But anyway, that's from Tracy's Sweet Touch Production. And y'all excuse my voice. Like I said, I got these seasonal allergies. And anyway, let's see what you got there this time.
Oh, this not well tight.
She tied it down. I don't know. You know, sometimes she be showing me that stuff and I open it up and I want to tie it back up.
That's okay. I got that.
Yeah. Let's see what you got there this time.
Thank you. Okay.
You might be able to make a whole bookshelf with Tracy's stuff.
I have a lot now.
She be wrapping stuff up and everything. You know.
Ooh wee. So it's a coaster, and it has has affirmations on it. Words. So natural roots, bliss, blessed, kindness, natural woman. Thank you, Tracy. I love coasters. You know, I don't like putting stuff on my wood.
Yeah.
So on my glass table.
Yeah, this table right here.
Yeah.
This was my grandmother's table.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I brought this in here when I had Sharon Newton in, you know, because I needed a bigger table to set all my stuff on.
Okay.
But this excuse me, my grandmother's table, and I call it the wisdom table. But you saying coaster, I got 2 rings on here already.
So you need a coaster.
Yeah, Tracy, I need a coaster. Okay.
So
Anyway,
thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So before we sign off, we started a little late, so we can go a couple minutes over, if you will. I'm gonna leave you with the last words. Mayor Pro Tem, First Ward Representative, our future mayor of the city of Ypsilanti, Nicole Brown McGee.
Thank you. I think what I would like to say is, I just want to thank everyone for believing in me and supporting me in representing you all for the past 8 years. And I hope that, I have represented you well and that you feel like I have done justice to this role as I seek a new role. My intention is to continue to be an ear and then be a voice at that table, but not to just represent myself, but everyone that I would be elected to represent. And so I'm hoping that, I can earn the trust and the votes in this new position from folks who, I have been working for and with for years, as well as those who I did not technically represent. Although when I'm at the table again, I'm working for everyone, especially as pro tem. And so I'm humbled to have served in my role for 8 years, and I'm excited about what the future holds for the city as we move forward. So thank you so much for having me.
And you're welcome. Ear to the Ground 197 is brought to you Saturday mornings at 11. This is the first Saturday of the month, so we always have Summerfest meeting, and that's why we got started late. And Nicole had something to do also. But also, I'm gonna put this out here too. Ear to the Ground 197 is exactly what it says. So if you're out there and if you're running for an elected office, platform open for you too. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to tell anybody that they're not welcome on this platform, because they have just as much right, and I have just as much duty to open it up for individual too.
Yes, absolutely.
So because we're going to be fair across the board. You get what I mean? That's just happened to be my choice, and I ain't no secret about it. But anyway, like I said, if you're running for an office, you have something to say that's productive. We don't do no counterproductive stuff like here. Been doing that all my life. We in here for upward change and growth, not for tearing down, but for building up. And that's why I say why one Ypsilanti first. So with that being said, we'll see you next week. I'm gonna have my main man up in here, Ryan Griffin and Eric Brown. We ain't been at the round table. Yeah, we gonna get around the table. We gonna chop it up on that real stuff. You get what I mean? So, Brother Roland Tucson, we looking forward to seeing you out here, brother, and doing your thing. If you need to come in and share some information, you're gonna get my number. But the table is open, and that's what Ear to the Ground 197. My name is Bryan Foley. I've been your host. We see you next week, and with that, we're out. Now this microphone is off. Yeah, but this one right here is on YouTube. So,
Okay.
But anyway, I'm gonna end this one. This is gonna be the first time I would say something.